welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. And in this RPG questions video, I want to ask you people out there in YouTube land how valuable you consider taking notes within an RPG session. Do you take notes yourself? Is it something you try and avoid? Or is it something you find very useful? For myself, I find taking notes extremely useful. I don't have a terribly good memory, so I find that if I tend not to jot things down or write them down or record them in some fashion, that a few sessions later, when I come to try and remember who the name of that particular NPC was or what the name of that particular town was, especially if it's in a fantasy setting where unusual names tend to be the norm, although sci-fi also has the same issue, then I find it very difficult to remember things, as I say, especially names. Also, in games I'm running, it helps to have some form of recording or record of events that unfold. So at the end of my session, when I update my campaign notes, I can make sure I write everything down, because chances are you can pretty much guarantee if you forget something or play something a little differently, say an NPC's personality changes, or God forbid you play them as a completely different NPC, you can bet money that the player characters will not have forgotten what they were like originally and will pick up on this change. So I always find it's better to have some form of record of what's gone on in a session. Now, one thing I don't agree with is taking notes so extensively and worrying so much about what's gone on in the past of a session and jotting it all down that you miss the events that are occurring in the present. And this can be a problem when you're trying to write down notes. I write my own in a form of my own sort of shorthand, abbreviating words, using arrows, symbols, etc. to replace common words. And this speeds things up a little. However, I've also tried, as I do in my Rogue Trader game, using my computer to record an audio track and then listening back to it later and making notes once the session is finished. And I've also used a dictaphone that is built into my smartphone to record sessions so I can later go through, listen to it, and make my notes. So what I'd like to ask is, how useful do you find making notes within an RPG session? Do you make notes yourself? And if you do make notes, what are the methods that you use to do so that it doesn't interfere with the session? I'd be very interested in hearing what you have to say. Please leave your comments down below or hit me up in the Google Plus links. I hope that if you've liked this video, you'll click on like and subscribe. And until next time, thank you very much for listening and for watching. Take care.